And how does mine look compared to that?
You're good.
Okay, I think we're good to go.
Okay.
All right. We're going to start streaming in a second, Rob.
Okay.
Make sure the stream is closed on the Make sure the stream is closed on Chrome. Other tab. It's muted. Other tab. Close that. We're good to go. We're good? Well, hello and welcome to the Movie Paradise Show. I'm your host, Nathanael Molnár. I'm joined today, co-host Rob Giachinta. Rob, thanks for being here.
What's going on?
So, we have a whole bunch of movie news to talk about for this week, and usually we have a format on the show that we do some movie news discussion topics, we do some movie reviews, and then we do the Rob Report, but because of the sheer amount of movie news that came out this week, we're going to change things up just a little bit. So, we're going to kick things off with our first Did You Hear? First of four, we're talking about, Rob, did you hear that we have some new casting announcements for the Batman?
No, who did they cast?
So, we have Jeffrey Wright is going to be playing Commissioner Gordon, and we have Jonah Hill coming into the Batman in a mysterious villainous role. We don't know exactly who he'll be playing yet. Some people are saying Penguin, some people are saying Joker, but I'm really excited about this casting overall. First of all, I think Jeffrey Wright is going to make a great Commissioner Gordon. I think he fits that role really well. Am I a little bit disappointed that J.K. Simmons isn't coming back? Yes, but I think Jeffrey Wright's going to do the job really well. And ultimately, I want Matt Reeves to put into the movie who he wants to put into the movie, not be forced to put in who Zack Snyder chose to play the character. You know, I want Matt Reeves to be able to choose as much as he wants. And as for Jonah Hill, I mean, Jonah Hill has made a great name for himself in comedy, but he's also been doing a lot of great dramatic roles. I think, personally, I see him more as the Penguin than as the Joker. Or rather, Riddler. But,
You mean the Riddler?
Yeah, rather Riddler. I see him more as the Penguin than the Riddler, but I am excited to see him in this movie regardless, and I think he's going to do a great job.
Yeah, I totally forgot J.K. Simmons was Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
Well, he was great in his one scene, but I think Jeffrey Wright will be good too. Now, I have some interesting info on the whole Jonah Hill thing. Last night I was listening to a podcast of I know you're aware of Jeff Snyder, correct? He was saying on his podcast that he had heard that apparently Jonah Hill, that Matt Reeves wanted him to play Riddler, and they had another lesser-known star, but still kind of known, but lesser than Jonah Hill, to play Penguin. And then that person who was cast to play Penguin dropped out, and now that they don't have that role filled, now Jonah Hill's kind of like, hey, could I play Penguin instead? So it's kind of, I think it's kind of up in the air onto which one he's going to play now. But yeah. I don't know, does Matt Reeves say, sure, you can play that one, or does he say, no, I want you to play Riddler? I don't know. We're going to have to find out.
I think it's interesting overall. I think we're going to get a lot of villains in this. I think, because we all know that Ben Affleck's script originally involved Batman going to Arkham Asylum, and there would be a whole slew of villains there. I don't know if we're necessarily going to see Batman go to Arkham in Matt Reeves' version, but I do think we are going to get some villains in this. More than just one or two. So I think that's probably why they designated that Jonah Hill would be a lead villainous role. I would love to see his take on Penguin. I think Jonah Hill would play a fantastic Penguin. I think that would just I'm getting excited just thinking about that possibility. That would be great.
The Penguin as a character, I don't know if it necessarily does it for me, to be completely honest. But like, if he was to play it, I feel like he would bring a lot of gravitas to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we also, I mean, I believe that they're going to be casting a Selena Kyle sooner or later too. So
yeah, that's gonna be
that should be pretty cool.
Do you have any?
She's like, is she really villain or I don't know.
Yeah. Hear me out. This is my top choice right now to play Catwoman is Aubrey Plaza. I think she'd be fantastic as Catwoman.
I don't know if I see that. I haven't seen anything. I feel like she does the same thing everything I see her.
She plays that great sort of like creepy, weird offsetting that's exactly what you would want from a Catwoman. I think she could play that sort of unhinged role that I think would really be required.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know who I'd cast, but yeah, I mean, I bet they'll definitely get someone big. Another thing I wanted to bring, it's reported that Jonah Hill's cost is going to be around $10 million, while Robert Pattinson is only going to be $5 million. I mean, I understand that, but that's kind of crazy to think about that the main star of the movie's getting paid less than.
Well, I mean, it happened with Tom Holland and Spider-Man: Homecoming with
that's true.
Robert Downey Jr. making, what do you make, $25 million for 5 minutes of screen time?
Oh, really?
It was something crazy like that. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous how much he made on that. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense because Jonah Hill is a far bigger name than Robert Pattinson. I think ultimately I understand it. It is weird to think about, but I understand why it is the way it is.
Yeah, he is a 2-time Oscar nominee as well, so it makes sense.
Yeah. What does Robert Pattinson have?
He should have one, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, those are our thoughts on the casting announcements for the Batman. What do you think? Do you think Jeffrey Wright and Jonah Hill are good fits for this? Would you rather have seen someone else in the roles? Would you rather have seen J.K. Simmons come back rather than recast Commissioner Gordon as Jeffrey Wright? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. So, Rob, what's our second topic for Did You Hear?
Okay. Have you been hearing all the stuff that's gone on this week about The Irishman?
I don't know if I have.
Scorsese movie? Well, in my opinion, it's kind of been a roller coaster week for it. It started off when we first got these new images released by Netflix of the de-aged Robert De Niro. And I have to say, when I saw the photos, I kind of was a little taken back and said, like, I don't know how I'm going to believe this. This just doesn't look that realistic to me. But then when we saw the trailer, and in the trailer, I think it worked a little bit better. And I thought the trailer was awesome. It really got me excited. It was way better than the first trailer. Like, it actually got me really pumped to see the movie. And now it just screened yesterday at the New York Film Festival to rave reviews as 100% on Rotten Tomatoes on over 30 reviews. People are calling it a masterpiece, saying it's an Oscar frontrunner now, that, De Niro could be nominated, Pacino, director, and now my expectations are just through the roof. How about you?
So, all right. So let me just preface this with kind of where I've been at with The Irishman before this week, because this has been a huge week for The Irishman in general. So I was always interested in the project. I mean, Scorsese is a great director. You got the cast involved, but I was starting to get really nervous about the movie. The first trailer they put out just really didn't do it. It just felt like they're like, "Hey, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Irishman, go see it." It's like, okay, you didn't tell me anything about the movie. And the pictures that we saw, the effects did look kind of questionable. And then we heard it was 3.5 hours, and I was just like, I don't know. I kind of felt like it was feeling to me like Netflix was just giving Scorsese and everyone involved the go on anything they wanted. Like, you want to make a 3.5 hour movie? Sure, do 3.5 hours. You want to have a $150 million budget? Sure, $150 million budget. And I was getting afraid that if you have a studio like Netflix that is just saying yes, yes, yes to everything, that we might get, I'm not necessarily completely equating it to the prequels, but that sort of concept where you have a filmmaker who everyone just says yes to because of their prestige, and then the result is something that needed some constructive criticism from someone else. And that was sort of the impression I was starting to get. And so I was getting apprehensive about whether or not The Irishman was going to be any good. The trailer, I liked the trailer a lot. I didn't watch the trailer, this one that came out this week. I didn't watch it and go, holy shit, I gotta go see this movie right now. I can't wait. Top 10 of the year. I wasn't like that. But I was like, yeah, no, I'm interested. I'm intrigued. Where the story bits that we got from the previous trailers didn't really interest me as much there, they interest me more here. And the effects do look better in this trailer than they have before. They still don't look perfect. I'd completely forgotten that Ray Romano was in the movie until I saw him in the trailer. I was like, oh,
he looks great.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. And so then with the first reactions, I mean, there have been tons of movies that have 30 reviews and they have 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that doesn't really necessarily do anything for me.
But it's all the top critics, though.
Mm-hmm.
So I put some legitimacy into that.
Yeah. But anyways, you and I were talking a little bit before about whether we thought it was going to be a big Oscar contender or not. I'm still, like, you were saying you think it's a lock that's going to get nominated for Best Picture, and you were saying it's a front runner to win.
I'd say so, yeah.
I'm not convinced yet it's going to be nominated. We'll have to wait and see. Hold on, I got to readjust my camera just a little bit there. There we go. Yeah, I'm not 100% convinced it's going to get nominated yet. There's a lot of movies coming out. And remember, you're still saying Avengers Endgame is getting nominated. You have that bet.
We'll see about that.
I'd like my $5, please.
I'm more confident that Irishman gets nominated at this point.
Yeah. No, I think, honestly, I'm going to tell you, I think Joker might be the front runner right now. It's really early. We don't even have nominees yet. But I think Joker has a really good shot at winning. I think it will definitely be nominated. Like, I think that's a lock. The fact that it won Venice, I think it's an absolute lock that's going to be nominated. If it's not nominated, I'm going to be completely shocked. Because the last few Venice Film Festival winners weren't just nominated, but were major frontrunners, if not the winners of Best Picture. I think Joker has a really good shot. I do think I'm more confident in the idea that Joaquin Phoenix is going to win Best Lead Actor.
I can agree with that.
I think we're going to see that happen. I'm not as confident. Right now, I'm saying Joker is my frontrunner. I'm not as confident, but I do think Joaquin's going to win that Oscar. And I couldn't be more excited about that.
I think it's probably, at this point, maybe a 3-horse race with Joker, Jojo Rabbit, and Irishman.
Yeah.
But we still got to see some other ones released, too.
Yeah, there's definitely some others. It's going to be a very interesting Oscar season. I'm very excited to see once we get a little bit further in. And, I mean, we're still speculating at this point because all these movies that we're talking about, we haven't seen yet. So, and the mass audience, like, only the top critics have really seen a lot of these movies that we're even talking about yet for Oscar season. None of us or the average fans have even seen any of these movies yet. So once we get past that point and we've seen all these movies, then we can have a much more accurate conversation about what we think is going to be nominated, what we think is going to win. I am fully admitting it's really early, but it is fun to speculate about all that. But yeah, Irishman, it very well could be in that conversation. It very well could. And, I mean, I'm not going to, like, fall out of my chair in shock if it gets nominated for Best Picture or anything like that. I'm just saying I haven't, like, I'm not positive it's going to work its way in there. Because there are a lot of films that people are talking. There's at least 15 movies that people have been talking about. This one's a front runner, or this one's a major Oscar contender. So there's only so many that can actually get that spot. So we'll have to wait and see. But I mean, I do have to say, ultimately, I am glad The Irishman is going on Netflix, because if it was only in theaters with a 3.5-hour runtime, I don't know how I would have been able to do that.
I'll be honest with you though. So I know it's playing in theaters for like 3 weeks before it hits Netflix. If it's playing in a theater that's like, if it's playing like in Boston, like 40 minutes away, I will go down and see it.
Yeah. I mean, I would do it too, but I would do it with knowing in my head that if I have to leave to use the bathroom at any point, I could catch up on whatever I missed on Netflix.
You went to the bathroom during Endgame, so
yeah, I did. I picked the best point to do it though. The best point.
Oh, did you?
Yes, it was very well planned. But 3.5 hours. Can you imagine being in a theater for 3.5 hours? Imagine
it is ridiculous.
No intermission.
The one thing I'll say, you know me, I complain about long movies all the time, but the one long movie that I absolutely love is Wolf of Wall Street, and that was 3 hours, and that was Scorsese too, and that movie flew by. So people are saying this movie flies by too. So
speaking of Wolf of Wall Street, I just watched that yesterday again. Love that movie. That movie's so good.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
All right. So, what do you think? Are you... Actually, I was starting to think about the next topic, and I forgot what topic we were on. What do you think? Did you see the new trailer for The Irishman? Have you been hearing these first reactions? Are you looking forward and excited to seeing The Irishman? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. So let's move on to the next topic of Did You Hear? Rob, did you hear that Kevin Feige, who is the president of Marvel Studios, has been running and shepherding the MCU all the way back from Iron Man, that he is going to be producing a new Star Wars movie?
What?
Yes, it is true. It is absolutely true. Kevin Feige, who is a longtime Star Wars fan, he's been a Star Wars fan his whole life, and he's been involved in the MCU, has done such a brilliant job with the MCU. I don't think his work on the MCU can be overstated. It's just it's one of the most impressive achievements in Hollywood history to be able to take. No one's ever done anything like that before, where you have a series of films that aren't just a series of films, but a connected cinematic universe, have it all tie in, where he had movie after movie making $1 billion each. One of his movies is the highest grossing film of all time. It set the highest opening box office record. Can't understate his achievements with the MCU. And now he's going to be doing a Star Wars movie. He pitched an idea to Kathleen Kennedy, who's running Lucasfilm over at Disney, and they're going to be producing a Star Wars movie together. I think this is great because I think Kevin Feige is a creative guy. He is a creative person, and I think he's been cooped up in the MCU for a really long time. And I think while he's done a fantastic job with that, I think he needs to kind of stretch his legs a little bit. He needs to do something outside of the MCU to really kind of get back into the groove. Because if you work on one thing for so long, no matter how fulfilling it is, and no matter how rich the experience is, you're going to want to do something else after a while. You're going to want to do something new to get the juices flowing. And I think doing a Star Wars movie is going to be a great thing for him. It'll give him a break from the MCU. He can kind of work on something else, test out his abilities. And then I think, there's some people saying that, this means that Kevin Feige is going to leave the MCU and go run Star Wars. I don't think that's going to happen. But what I do think is going to happen, I do think he's going to leave the MCU at some point in the next 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. I think he is going to leave because I think what this does show with him doing a Star Wars movie is that he is looking for new challenges. He's looking for different opportunities and new things to do that aren't just the same thing that he's been working on for the past 11 years. And so I think if he does Star Wars and he does a Star Wars movie and it's really good and he loves doing it and he's like, I just love doing something that's not in this set world that I've been doing for the past 11 years. I think that doesn't mean he'll go and do more Star Wars. I do think that means he might leave the MCU to go do new and different things because that's the kind of person Kevin Feige is. Rob, what's your take on all this?
I'm very excited about it because, in my opinion, Star Wars has been a mess for the last couple movies. Besides Force Awakens, I haven't been satisfied with any of the movies they've released ever since Force Awakens. So, I'm excited for, what is it called? Last Jedi? No, not Last Jedi.
The Rise of Skywalker?
There you go. I'm excited for that one, but who knows what happens. So, and then we don't really know we have some movies scheduled, right, for after Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah, Benioff and Weiss, the Game of Thrones guys, they're going to be doing a trilogy.
I mean, but who knows? Like, Star Wars, they're kind of like DC in a way, where they say all this, they announce all this stuff, and then some stuff happens and some stuff doesn't. I don't know. I feel like putting Feige on something, that means I think it's definitely going to happen.
Oh yeah, I have no doubts that this is like going to happen. I think Star Wars and DC are a little bit different in that I think DC was announcing a new film like every week, and like 90% of them didn't happen. Really, what happened with, I think Star Wars started really ambitious. They paid $4 billion to get the rights from George Lucas, and they're like, we're going to be putting out a film a year, and I guarantee you, they never announced it, but I guarantee you behind the scenes, they were talking about how they were going to do 2 films a year. I think that was their plan, and then I think they hit a couple of road bumps. They had everything that happened with Solo, and then they had some director issues with some other films, and then I think they got to a point where they're like, okay, we need to reassess the plan. We had all these plans, we had all these ideas of what we were going to do, and I'm sure we only heard about a fraction of the plans that they had for the movies that they were going to do. And then they were like, okay, we need to reassess. We don't need a whole trilogy from Rian Johnson, a whole trilogy from the Game of Thrones guys, a whole this, a whole that. We don't need all that, so let's reassess what do we really want to do and take it one step at a time. Which I think is a little different from DC, because I think DC was just kind of throwing everything at the wall and seeing what stuck, whereas Star Wars started off ambitious, realized things weren't going exactly the way that they wanted, and reassessed the plan.
Yeah, I just think if Feige could come in here and, deliver a good movie like he does with Marvel, I'd be completely satisfied. And, I mean, I don't know, do you think it's possible someday that he just takes over Star Wars in the Kathleen Kennedy role and someone else does Marvel, or no?
I don't think so. Because here's the thing. I think that Kevin Feige has been working the last 11 years running a cinematic universe. And I don't think that his next move is going to be jumping over to another Disney cinematic universe and running that. I think for Kevin Feige, I think the reason why he's doing this Star Wars movie is that he loves Star Wars and he's always wanted to do a Star Wars movie. He had a great idea for a Star Wars movie and he wanted to do something different to kind of stretch his legs and get the creative juices going. But I don't think he's going to want, or at least I can't speak for Kevin Feige. I'm not Kevin Feige. I've never met him. I don't know anything about Kevin Feige.
Oh, you're not?
But my impression, yeah. Oh, yeah, you didn't know? I don't know Kevin Feige. But my impression is that if you work on something for so long and you want to get out of it to do something different, you're not going to go and do the exact same thing just for a different cinematic universe. It's like, I don't think Kevin Feige would leave Marvel and go run DC. I think Kevin Feige's doing Star Wars because he's always wanted to do a Star Wars movie. But when he does leave the MCU and goes and sets up his new job, I don't think he's going to be doing the same thing just under a different brand. I think he'll have a different job. I do think it's possible maybe he takes over Alan Horn's job. Maybe he goes over to another studio other than Disney and has some sort of higher up executive position there. But I don't think he'll be jumping over and taking care of Star Wars, especially since Kathleen Kennedy just re-upped her contract. She's there for another few years. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't renew her contract at the end of that few years, especially since they just re-upped her like a year ago. So, no, I don't think that's what he'll do. But we never know. Maybe he'll do the Star Wars movie, absolutely fall in love with Star Wars, doing the Star Wars movie, and maybe he'll want to. But who knows?
Do you think he'll ever direct a movie or something?
I don't know.
Maybe a smaller movie or something, like nothing like a Marvel movie, but something like that.
He might. Here's the thing, though. The job that Kevin Feige has is radically different from the job of a director. Kevin Feige is, the job of a director is a big picture job, but within one film. The director is caught up in one movie, focused entirely on that. picks it up from the very beginning, makes sure it gets done, carries it all the way to the finish line. Kevin Feige does that with like 10 movies at once. You know, he's like a director is big picture. Kevin Feige is like even bigger picture. And I think that maybe Kevin Feige has interest in directing. I feel like he definitely has the status in Hollywood that if he wanted to direct a movie, it's not like nobody's gonna hire him as a director. If he wants to,
he can probably fund it himself. To be honest,
exactly. So he very well could direct a movie if he wants to. I don't know if he has that ambition. I don't know if he wants to, but I do agree. Like, I don't think he's going to go and direct this Star Wars movie. I don't think he's going to say, you know what? It's time for me to direct Ant-Man 3. You know, I don't think he's going to do that. But I could see him decide, you know what? I kind of want to try this directing thing out. I've been shepherding all these directors for all these years. I kind of want to give it a shot, see what it's like. So I'm going to do this $4 million budget drama and just give that a shot and see how it goes. Maybe he tries that. Maybe that's a new challenge for him that he wants to do. Or maybe he doesn't care about directing at all and he never does in his life. Who knows? You with us?
What?
Are you with us?
Yeah, you kind of were fading out a little, but yeah,
okay.
Awesome.
All right. Anyways, let's move on to our last Did You Hear? So anyways, if you have thoughts on this Kevin Feige situation, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. But Rob, what is our final topic here on Did You Hear?
Well, this also involves Kevin Feige, and it was reported that just yesterday that Kevin Feige will in fact be producing Spider-Man 3 with Tom Holland, and Sony and Marvel finally made a deal, and I believe Marvel gets now 25% of the profits of the movie.
Yeah.
So they were able to make a deal, and I'm very happy about it because now we get to see Tom Holland back in the MCU fold, and we don't have to, create some kind of new timeline in the Spider-Man movies. Plus, I believe Tom Holland can now appear in another MCU film outside of the Spider-Man movies as well.
Yeah, I think the deal as it exists now is one more. They're doing Spider-Man 3 and then one more MCU movie that Spider-Man can pop up in.
Nice. I'm super excited about that. I always thought that, I thought he'd be back in the MCU, but it was some time passed and, you kind of thought to yourself, man, maybe they're not gonna. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad they are, and John Watts is reportedly supposed to come back. I'm excited about that. I didn't love the last one, but I think he'll do a pretty good job with it and finishing out the trilogy.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we're pretty much on the same page with Far From Home. Like, I thought it was a good movie, but I didn't think it was a step down from Homecoming. I didn't think it was as good. It was kind of one of those middle tier MCU movies where I was like, yeah, that was good. Nothing extraordinary, but not terrible or anything like that. But I am excited for John Watts to come back and direct it. I do think it's telling, though, that, this isn't a deal where it's like, we're going to do another 4 Spider-Man movies and then another 4 MCU appearances. It's one more Spider-Man movie to close off the trilogy and then one more MCU movie for him to pop up in. I don't think they're making a new deal after this. I think this is it.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows, though? But if this movie blows up, makes even more than Far From Home, who knows? I don't know.
But don't you think that if they were planning or wanted to continue this deal, that this deal that they just made would have been for more movies? To me, this screams that they could not get along, they could not figure it out, which is why the deal didn't work before. And then they were like, okay, let's just do one more. Let's just close out the trilogy, because it's kind of weird that we have a trilogy of Spider-Man movies where the first 2 are all MCU, all about Tony Stark, and then we're going to do a third one where he's never mentioned again. No MCU.
Yeah,
that's weird. So let's just do one more movie, close out that trilogy. He can pop up in another MCU movie. We'll tie up Spider-Man's arc in the MCU with a bow, get him out of the MCU so he doesn't just disappear, and then move on.
Do you think they'd kill him off?
I don't know if they'll kill him off, but I do think that between the next Spider-Man movie and his final MCU appearance, which we don't know when that'll be or what movie that'll be or anything like that, I do think they'll finish his story. I don't think they'll kill him necessarily, because I feel like that'd be a little bit morbid, but for something like the MCU.
Oh, really?
But I think they'll close him off.
He'll just come back anyways.
Yeah, like maybe he says like, I don't know, I'm done being an Avenger. I'm just gonna focus on the neighborhood. I'll just stick as a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and Spider-Man goes off and stays in New York and in Queens, and then we never hear from him again. And what I do think is, I think this could be after these two. I think Sony reboots.
Probably, or at least tries to put them in their Venomverse if that's still working for them.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that if they had any intention of sticking with this deal and going further with it and going forward and doing more movies, that this deal that they just signed would have been for 4 Spider-Man movies and 4 MCU movies, and they would have just re-upped the deal that they made before and then just increased the pay things. If that's really what they were looking to do, that's why I feel like this deal would have been. But no, it's for 1 and 1. And I think that just means that things aren't going to work out between Sony and Disney, but they just decided, rather than just cutting it off clean and never mentioning Spider-Man again and having no closure, rather than doing that, let's just do one more movie, close it off, wrap up the story, wrap up his arc with a bow, and then move on.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. Here's hoping that we get to see Tom Holland for a lot more movies.
I'm
but
hoping
you might be
too.
Right.
I definitely, I'm hoping that he sticks around and that they make it work. Who knows? Maybe, I mean, if the next Spider-Man movie makes even more money than Far From Home, and it makes like $1.2 billion, and then he's in the next MCU movie, and he's one of the highlights of the movie, and everyone's buzzing and talking about how much they love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I mean, ultimately, what's going to make Disney and Sony come to any sort of conclusion is money.
Yeah.
Money is going to get a deal made. And so if the money is there, they're going to come to some sort of deal. I think Disney needs to be a little less greedy than they've been in the past. Because I think what the whole reason that fell apart was because Disney was like being like, no, give us everything. And Sony, understandably, was like, no, we're not giving you 50% of everything, They
get all the money off the toys and stuff.
Yeah, Disney's already making all the money off of the merchandise. And then they wanted 50% of all Spider-Man movies going forward. All, like, the Venom movies, the Morbius movies, all that. They wanted 50% of everything. And understandably...
They would have been stupid to agree to that.
Exactly. I don't know why Disney... I don't know if Disney was just being stupid, or if they were just like, we're Disney and no one's going to say no to us, so you better give us 50% of everything. And then Sony just goes, okay, fuck you. We're not agreeing to that.
But hey, in negotiating, you always want to aim high and then try to work towards the middle. So, they ended up getting more money than they were originally getting, so they win in the end.
But the crazy thing was that during those initial negotiations, when Disney said 50, Sony came back and said, how about 70-30? And Disney said no, but now the deal is 25%. So if Disney had just said yes to that 70-30, they would have been making more than they are now. I don't know. Who knows? It's a strange situation. But the bottom line is that we have Spider-Man back in the MCU just for a little bit longer. We're going to be getting a third Spider-Man movie. Now, here's my question to you, Rob. Do you think, and this is mild spoilers for Far From Home if you haven't seen it, but it's out in digital now in Blu-ray, so you have a chance to see it. And they've been putting in the trailers for that. So anyways, Rob, do you think, is J.K. Simmons returning in this third Spider-Man movie as J. Jonah Jameson, or do you think that was a one-shot thing in the credits for Far From Home?
I think... Well, I don't think we're ever going to see J.K. Simmons Spider-Man interacting, or Peter Parker and J. Jonah Jameson interacting, but I think there could be like another like kind of cameo thing in the next Spider-Man. I think so.
Yeah, I think gone are the days of bring me pictures of Spider-Man.
Yeah,
kind of I think that's
I know
done.
that stinks, but yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a 50-50 chance. I mean, I do think it was definitely a possibility that they just like, hey, the fans are going to go crazy if we have J.K. Simmons show up in this movie, so let's just get him in front of a green screen, take an afternoon, film some stuff, he's out, he's done, that's it. You know, I think that's a possibility, but it's also a possibility that they bring him back for a small role. We'll have to wait and see on that. Mm-hmm. But, so we just had a bunch of Did You Hear topics. We're going to do only one go or no go this week. And the movie we're going to be talking about, because it's the only one that both of us have seen, is Ad Astra. So I put up a spoiler-free review on the channel for my thoughts on Ad Astra. So if you want full thoughts on Ad Astra from me, you can go check out that video. But I'm curious to know, Rob, what do you think of Ad Astra?
Ad Astra was a movie that I thought was brilliantly filmed. I mean, it looked incredible, I thought. It was the same director of photography of Interstellar, and it definitely shows because it looked as good as that movie did. Just the effects were seamless in this movie, and I think people are saying like Brad Pitt was like too quiet in this movie, or like you didn't really feel for him at all. But I have to disagree with that. I felt a lot for him in a lot of scenes when he's just on this relentless path of trying to find his dad and just find the answers. And I think this is a part of the movie where I realize like he's not this mission really isn't for him trying to save mankind. It's for him to try to get some closure with his father. And I don't know. I found that to work for me on an emotional level. But I know you said you thought the movie was a little cold, and I can definitely see that too, because there are a lot of scenes that kind of are a little drawn out, and you're just kind of staring at the screen, and there's not really a lot going on. But I have to say, I thought Brad Pitt was good in the movie, and I enjoyed watching him throughout the movie. And while it could have been maybe a little bit shorter, I thought it was definitely a good time at the movies. And, you know, especially if you like space movies, I think you'll love this movie. Because, you know, the sheer, like, I just loved how they, like, it wasn't like the moon that we're used to. It was a moon that was like, there's like a subway on the moon. It was essentially
we don't want to go into any details to, like, for people who haven't seen it. But I agree.
Well, it was in the trailer, so that's
the stuff with the moon was, like, my absolute favorite part. And I agree. There's so many great concepts in this film. Like, great ideas, like, especially the moon. When I saw everything, I was like, that's really cool. That's a really cool idea, and I love that. And I wish they kind of delved a little bit more into those aspects of the movie. Everything you said about the visuals, I completely agree. Like, the cinematography was, like, breathtaking. And I went and saw it on IMAX just to see... I
saw it in Dolby.
I know. I wish I had seen it in Dolby, but Downton Abbey was playing in Dolby, which I don't know why that was in Dolby. But yeah, you needed some ass kickers for Downton Abbey. That chair's gonna be rumbling. But I saw it in IMAX. It was so great to see those visuals on such a big screen. Like, it was just, the cinematography was beautiful, the visual effects. I couldn't tell what was practical and what was CGI. And that's such a great testament to the work that the people did on making this movie. And, like, the production design, all that stuff was beautiful. Like, it was such a great film to look at. And there were such great concepts within it. I just thought it was overly drawn out. I just thought, like, the story itself, like, I won't go into details, but everything that ultimately happens with the search for Brad Pitt's father in the movie, I thought that was just kind of like, there wasn't too much to it. It just kind of, it was set up as something that would be intriguing, and then it happens exactly the way you think it's going to happen. I don't know, it wasn't, it didn't resolve itself in any sort of a really great way. It felt very anticlimactic. I thought it could have been shorter. I don't know. It's just, it didn't ultimately work for me overall. But for my rating of it, it's tough. Like, I kind of want to go right in the middle of go or no go, because I think if you are a science fiction fan, I think you should see Ad Astra just to see it. Because I think for science fiction fans, there are a lot of great things in the movie to gravitate towards, pun intended, and to latch onto. I think there are some great concepts in there. But I think overall, the movie isn't the greatest film. And so, I think if you're an average fan and you're like, just looking at what's coming out and you're like, oh, Ad Astra, I love Brad Pitt, let's go see it. I don't know if the movie's going to work for you on that level. So if I have to lean towards one, I'm going to lean slightly more towards no-go. But I am going to say, if you're a science fiction fan, or if you like the trailers or any of that stuff, go check out the movie.
I'll agree with you. It's like, I wouldn't, like, this is a movie I wouldn't send my mom to go see or anything like that. But I'd say if you're a lover of film and just the technology that goes into it and stuff like that, then I'd give this a go. And in my personal opinion, I'd give it a go as well.
Yeah. So, anyways, that is going to do it for today's installment of the Movie Paradise Show. On the show, we talked about casting announcements for the Batman. We talked about first trailer reactions for The Irishman. We talked about Kevin Feige doing a Star Wars movie. We talked about Spider-Man rejoining the MCU. And then we gave go or no-go for Ad Astra. So thanks so much for watching us here on the Movie Paradise Show. Next week, we will be back 1 p.m. live here on YouTube. But Rob, you won't be with us for the next couple weeks. Is that right?
No, I have to work the next 2 Saturdays. But hopefully, maybe, if I get a little spare time, I can ask some questions in the chat and contribute a smidge.
So for the next couple
but I'll
weeks,
be back.
Yeah. For the next couple weeks, we're going to change the format slightly because I'll be doing the show by myself. But hopefully Rob will be back in the next few weeks. So we'll be sure to do that. But tune in next week, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on YouTube for the next installment of the Movie Paradise Show. Rob, thanks so much for being here with us today on the show. And once again, I'm Nathanael Molnár, your host. So Rob, you get to co-host, me host, all that good stuff. So thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe for more content. Be sure to follow us on all of our various social medias at Movie Paradise 99. And until next Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern